On today's episode of Titus and Tate, it has been a little over a week since most of this country got their first glance at Victor Wembanyama, Tate. We got our first look at what this man has to offer on a basketball court. And already, a little after a week after seeing him, already people are asking, is this man overrated?
I think he is.
The backlash has come.
I think he's officially overrated, and I'm over him already. One weekend.
The excitement period has already. I don't know. It's been a fascinating week and a half. We'll put it that way.
We asked when the tipping point was, and boy did it come early.
It came quick. I think at one point when I started seeing everyone arguing that he might be a better prospect than LeBron James, that's when I was like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and hit the button and say,
stop this. Let's wait a second.
Let's calm down. Also, the fastest releasing of the tapes maybe in the history of mankind happened. As last show we did on Thursday, I demanded that the Warriors release the tapes with this Draymond Green-Jordan Poole fight. I did so under the assumption, as I do every time I demand a releasing of the tapes, that the tapes would not actually be released.
Yes.
Some 12 hours later, the tape was released. And
to everybody.
Yeah.
And apparently it was sold for under $10,000, which is the biggest upset
is
in
that
history.
True?
Yeah, that was what it was reported. It was less than $10,000 is what they leaked the video for, yeah.
Oh, my God. That is
should have been 100,000.
That's like
should have been six figures.
Yeah,
it should be your salary. Whoever
put that guy on the list
video.
with the home run catchers who like give it back to the team, you know, for a signed jersey. As far as like guys who got swindled by
who blew the bag,
who fumbled the bag, the bag fumblers.
Let's do a Hall of Fame
out there.
Of that.
Also, let's talk about some guys who didn't fumble the bag. Tate. Nike has signed DJ Wagner and Bronny James to NIL deals. That sound you hear is Milt Wagner packing up his office as we speak at Louisville, because I think the dream might be dead with DJ Wagner to Louisville.
He walked into the meeting and then walked right out this morning.
Yeah,
I'll see you guys later.
That is tough. Also today, a long-awaited return of Andy Katz on the program. We love having Andy on. It is always a treat to have a man who can break it all down for us. What is he breaking down? We don't know. We never really know.
The dynamics of what's happening in college basketball from every conference's vantage point, because Andy is in with he's basically the ultimate insider.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we brought Andy Katz on, talked to him for about a half an hour. That was a fun conversation just to get him back into the fold, because he is it's nice. We a lot of people think that you and I are maybe, I don't know, we're too big of jackasses sometimes. So it's nice to have It's nice to have a real adult show up on the program and
remind people that he respects this jackassery and that he's going to have fun with us.
All that coming up, but first,
Woody Durham.
All right, should we start with the Nike news, the news that broke today? This is this the most interesting thing to you? DJ Wagner, Bronny, who else was it? Caitlin Clark?
Yeah, it was five basketball players that were signed to Nike NIL deals, which was when the NIL stuff came out last summer, everyone was like, well, now these brands and sponsors, we said on the show, they're going to sign these players, but we hadn't seen that yet, and this is the first time. So it's Bronny James, Caitlin Clark, Haley Jones, DJ Wagner, and Judea Watkins are the five.
Okay, so yeah, you're absolutely right. When the NIL rules went into place, I think everyone's first thought was like, this is going to be sick to see Bryce Young doing a Ford commercial.
Yes.
And to see Bronny James signed with Nike. And then like the actual deals that were being reported were like
Benny's Pizza Place. Yes. Come buy 10 pizzas, get one free.
Big Bob's Mulching Company.
Yes, literally.
And it's like the
AC
left tackle,
companies.
the starting left tackle is getting like $50 every time he tweet, which is, we're happy for those deals. That's cool, but it wasn't exactly sending shockwaves throughout the sports world like we thought. And the big deals were always the ones and not that this is going to send shockwaves, but we'll talk about it. But like the deals of a guy signing with Nike were to me the most interesting, because there was the hypothetical, Tate, of what if a guy on Kansas wants to sign with Nike? What if say DJ Wagner was already at Louisville and Nike approached him with a life-changing amount of money and was like, we want to sign you. And as it currently stands, the way my understanding of the rules, and the rules change every week, so who the hell knows if my understanding is correct. But if DJ Wagner was, say, enrolled in Louisville and Nike approached him, he would have to, per the current model, turn that down, because Louisville has a Adidas partnership, which is going to then upset a lot of people who have been clamoring for these kids to make money in the first place. Now they're kind of calmed down a little bit. But then a situation like that arises, the pitchforks are back out, the torches are back out, and we're upset again. So guys in high school like Bronny James, there was one of his teammates, right? The Sierra Canyon kid? Did I get that right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Having 2 kids in high school, and DJ Wagner, 3 of them, I guess, sign with Nike when they haven't yet committed to a school is, again, I don't think it's sending shockwaves, but it's like the first, like, oh, this is something. This is, it's interesting to see how this, there's a precedent that's going to be set with whatever happens with these 3 guys.
And it used to be like the brands were the bags, so the you would basically get a bag to go play on a circuit. So you would be a Nike kid, you'd be an Under Armour kid, you'd be an Adidas kid, but it was all under the radar and usually through, as you know, through an AAU team that is basically the middleman between the brand and the kids themselves. But now, middleman cut out. We go straight to the kid. We sign a Nike deal. I think it's even more fascinating to say you're an Under Armour kid or playing on the Under Armour circuit, or like Zion playing on the Adidas circuit,
and then
Nike
bag
and then you take the Nike bag. But it used to be all under wraps as to like who's paying who to go where. But now this is in our face, and now you know that DJ Wagner's a Nike kid, so he's going to go to a Nike school. Bronny's a Nike kid. He's going to go to a Nike school. And that is the most forward-facing we've ever seen these brands be, because grassroots basketball is where the chaos ensues.
Let me be devil's advocate here. Do we know that DJ Wagner is going to Nike school? We have to. I mean, of course.
It would be, now that he is in a contract, yes.
He has to.
If he was playing on the Nike circuit, then it's not a guarantee. That doesn't mean he's necessarily going to go to a Nike school.
Didn't he already sign with like a Nike subsidiary? We talked about this already.
Yeah.
Right? Like he signed with
Rock Nation,
that was a little
whatever.
That was a little fuzzier. This is more direct that he's, I don't know, because I
this
think,
is as direct as it can be. Nike is signing him. He is a Nike athlete. Do you think Nike is going to allow a Nike athlete to go play at an Adidas school or an Under Armour school? No.
But I agree with you. I'm talking on both sides of my mouth. I'm just trying to.
No, I know. Devil's advocate. That's
I
what the
agree
devil
with you.
does. He's like, devil's in the details. He's like, well, how do you know this? I'm like, it's so facto. Nike school.
Just for the sake of a more interesting podcast, I'm going to disagree with you.
Yeah.
What if there is a world in which one of these guys, and it doesn't like Bronny it's 10 million% of Nike. Like that one's even, like that one is. I'm not even saying that because of Ohio State. It's just like his
dad has a building.
Yeah.
On the Nike
Bronny was always going to Nike school. But what if it's not DJ Wagner, maybe it's the next kid coming up, a world where these guys purposely subvert. Like that's part of the plan. Is you're a Nike kid, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna send you to Kansas, Adidas' #1 school, and then we're going to
wear
sabotage
Nike there.
from within inside the program where you're wearing Nike shoes every game, and you start this whole new national conversation where you come out for your first game wearing Nikes, and everyone's losing their mind, and Kansas is telling you to change, and it's on camera. Bill Self's pointing his finger at you, saying, "Get over here, change out of those." And that's all, it's all over Twitter. Now everyone's talking about that. What if that's Nike's plan? I don't know. I'm just trying to find a silver lining for Louisville fans.
It definitely could be something like that. It reminds me of, remember the student athlete doc that they made at HBO, and Nick Richards was in it, and his high school coach at St. Patrick's.
That's right.
Had the moment where
that exact thing happened.
He came out with, I think, Adidas shoes or Under Armour shoes, and they're a Nike school. So he was like, take off those stupid shoes and go put on the right shoes. And I think now, like, those grassroots issues are now in college basketball, right? Like we've jumped up to the next level of the same problem, and now it's more corporate. Now it's more in your face. But Caitlin Clark is at Iowa, Nike school. Haley Jones is at Stanford, Nike school. So if you want to say like 2 of the 5 are already at Nike properties, the other 3 are all probably going to end up at Nike properties. But like you said, there could be, if there was a Victor Wembanyama, right, and he got signed to Nike, but then he says, I want to go to Adidas because I really like Joel Embiid, and that's where I want to go to school or whatever.
Yeah.
There could be a world in which he wears Nike stuff everywhere else but the court. And he covers up the Adidas patch like he's Michael Jordan.
Like Jordan with the
the
Olympics.
That's the world that we could live in. Like, we might even see it with Amani Bates this year, right? Amani Bates is at an Adidas school, and he might cover up the Adidas on his jersey. Or James Harden. I don't know if you see what James Harden does. He cuts out the Nike on all the warm-up stuff. Like, for the Sixers, he just cuts out the check. So it's just like a ripped hole in the shirt. It looks ridiculous.
Does he really?
Yeah, he cuts it out.
I didn't know
because he's an Adidas guy. So he's like, I cut out the Nike, so I'm never in Nike stuff. So, I think there's a world in which we have those same issues, but it's in college.
I think that's the next groundbreaking moment for name, image, likeness stuff.
Yes.
Is the kid that signed with a different shoe company than his school is.
And I think the shoe company that will do this, like what you're saying, send him in as like a mission is Puma. I think Puma will sign a guy. I'm not even kidding. I think Puma's going to sign a guy that they think is a top flight recruit, and they're going to send him to Kansas or Carolina or whatever, and they're going to be like, you got him, but guess what he wears?
Yeah.
Puma. Strictly Puma.
I could see that.
Puma is the brand to
Puma
do
had
that.
like was it 28? Like they signed Ayton, but then did they sign Bagley too?
They have LaMelo. I mean,
They have LaMelo?
They have LaMelo Ball. I mean, that's the big
didn't
one
know
right
that.
now. Yeah, they have the Melo ones. Go check them out.
But they took their big swing. It was the 2018 draft,
Yes,
right? With
they were
Ayton
signing
and-
everybody.
They were signing everybody. They were going
Bagley,
crazy.
yeah, all those guys.
Um,
Not Luka though. The one guy they should have signed. Jordan Brand's like, yeah, we'll take him.
the one guy who probably wore a ton of Puma already.
He had Puma tracksuits.
He's
everywhere.
wearing Puma tracksuit,
Smoking a cigarette.
ripping Marlboros.
He was like, I like Puma.
Puma's like, no, we don't want you, dude.
Yeah.
You look kind of fat. We don't want you.
We want in shape athletic freaks. But no, I'm serious. You're right. That actually is like if I was a brand, if we're Sonny Vaccaro and you're at whatever that position is at one of these brands, that's a great idea. It's to basically send someone in, a player that is committed to your brand, to then blow up the other.
No,
brand.
yeah. I don't. The thing is, Nike's the number one. Nike has the biggest market share and all that.
course.
So I don't think Nike is going to be. Sorry, Louisville fans. I don't think Nike's going to be the one to do this first. It is going to be like a Puma or an Under Armour, or I don't think Adidas needs to do it either. But
I don't think so, but they would. You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like they would catch
Unless-
wind that Puma's doing it. And then they
maybe
might do it.
Nike listened to the podcast we did a little while back where I made the case that they are currently the empire's crumbling.
Yeah, you
and
said-
they're a little desperate.
Yeah, you said they're Rome.
Yeah.
Called them
This is
Rome.
the Roman Empire crumbling before our eyes, and maybe they're going to be a little desperate. But no, this is devastating news for Louisville fans, I think.
But if you're
But
Louisville,
you could spin it. And you
yeah.
could spin it. You can
Uh,
find
here-
a way. I
here's
just don't
how
know what
you-
it is yet.
Well, here's how you spin it. DJ Wagner is not Scoot Henderson, right? He is not. I don't think
Yes.
he's quite that guy. So I think you maybe even dodged a bullet by having someone that's the quote unquote savior that might not necessarily have the.
You did the
savior
same with Amani
qualities.
Bates. You
Yes.
thought you were getting Amani Bates this summer. You did not.
Mhm.
He went to Eastern Michigan, dodged a bullet. So maybe that's Louisville's new brand. Is like you just always tweet about all the bullets you dodged if you're a Louisville fan.
If I'm a
You
Louisville
see
fan-
the announcement, you're like, quote tweet, dodge that bullet. Thank God.
Yeah, dodge
Prayer
that bullet.
hands.
Or I'm coming out and saying that Amani Bates taught me that a Nike kid could go to an Adidas school, as we saw. So like Amani Bates actually gives hope to the idea that DJ Wagner will go and play for his grandpa, who hopefully has not packed up his office. Hopefully,
That's what I'm really worried
hopefully
about
Milt's
here.
in the back, and he's like trying to hold down the fort. You know, he's trying to call and make sure everything's good, and then DeJuan Wagner's not answering because he works at Kentucky.
Yeah, how is Milt Wagner handling this? Is fascinating. I would give anything to have a hidden camera in his office right now.
Yes.
Do you think he's just playing the oblivious, just like whistling into work and just like waving at everybody?
I think he's playing nice guy card.
He's just like, hey, and
Yeah.
waving at the secretary, and he goes and sits, and he just pretending like there's not fires all around him and everything.
Yes, this is fine.
Yeah.
That's him in his office. And then I think when he gets to his car every day that he's not fired and his key card still works, he sits down and he just takes like a deep breath. And he's like, you did it again, buddy. You live to fight another day.
Honestly, same sometimes.
Same.
So, I get it. Should we talk about Victor Wembanyama a little bit more?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I on Thursday when we talked about him the first time, I'll be honest, my brain was a little scrambled. I was trying to I thought back on some of the things I was saying, Tate, and none of them were coherent. All of
Yeah.
it was just like I had seen my first what term are we going with? Is everyone going with alien? Not
yeah.
because
I
it's
mean,
not unicorn, obviously.
LeBron said alien. I saw Bill said alien. I feel like
Mythical creatures.
Yeah,
Let
let's
me hit
let's
enter.
Google
Let me
which
see,
one
let's
he
see.
should
okay,
be.
so we could do Dragon. I feel like that can't do that with
He's-
HBO show going on. It's
Also
muddies the waters. A little
Yeah,
bit.
Luca's like a dragon.
Okay. Then unicorn second. Mermaid's third.
No.
You can't do that.
Not a mermaid.
Werewolf. Interesting.
I do like the Teen Wolf aspect, but Teen Wolf would be like you know who's like a werewolf? Like Scoot. Scoot's like a werewolf. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, not Victor. Victor's not a werewolf. Is there a lanky character? in this-
I'm just going down the list. I googled mythical creatures and hit enter. Fairy, which I feel like is derogatory.
Yeah, I don't think you could say that. Even though I thought unicorn could be originally. So who
But
knows?
a lot of people in Middle America, you tell them that he's French, they're gonna call him that anyway.
Yeah, that's true. So
So
maybe you
it
get ahead
might
of it.
stick.
Maybe you make a branding of it. You know.
Sphinx. That's not. Is Sphinx mythical?
No, right?
Right? I thought, or no, the Sphinx. Now I'm confused. I thought the Sphinx was like the carving of the statue.
Yeah,
thing,
he's not a Sphinx.
But they were carving a Sphinx.
Yes.
It's both the
what they carved is
a
a Sphinx. Yes, which was a living creature.
It's
in
like
the
a
mythical.
cat man.
It's like a lion cat man.
Chimera. What the hell's a chimera? The term chimera.
Jim, do you have any mythical creatures that come to mind?
Slender Man.
The Loch Ness Monster.
Wow, that's actually I could get down
a griffin, a centaur, a yeti, a gnome, a pegasus, a ghoul, an imp, a troll.
The
a
Yeti's
Pegasus.
pretty good.
A Yeti's good too.
Yeah, because it's the French Alps. Is that where he lives?
Yeah.
The Yeti?
Yeti's good.
Yeti's good. Because he
He's
is like
huge.
something that you can't believe that you see. Like he's a physical specimen that is otherworldly.
Yeah, it's not. These aren't merman. Is one sea serpent.
I think
I don't
he's.
know.
Let's go with Yeti for now. Let's placehold
The
Yeti.
French fry. The human French fry.
I forget what the hell we were even talking about. How this? I was saying my brain was scrambled. First,
Yes.
I get my first glimpse at this Yeti, and we sat down to do the show, and I was just like, man, I can't even make sense of what I've just seen. I made an argument that I like Scoot Henderson more, but I don't think it came out as clearly. I've given it some more thought, Tate. And here's where I've landed on Victor Wembanyama. A couple things. I still think Scoot Henderson for me is a guy I'm more excited about because I think it dawned on me that the reason I love watching basketball and the reason I've loved watching basketball my whole life is you're watching guys trying to like solve a problem in real time. You're watching it happen at very high speeds, that there's a defender in your way. You're trying to get the ball into the basket. How is this guy going to solve the problem?
Yes.
Watching dudes solve the problem in a way that I'm also trying to solve the problem at my level when I'm in junior high and high school, whatever. It was relatable. It was fun. That's that's the appeal of sports to me, is watching individuals and sometimes groups of individuals as teams collectively trying to solve problems, right? And we've reached a point in the NBA where it feels like 30 guys, maybe it's 15. I don't know what the number is, but there's a certain number of guys in the NBA that have solved basketball. They've just like, it's solved. It's done. It's over. And so now, like, every time you watch them, it's just, it's less about watching them solve the game, and it's just watching it over and over, like just the same computer spitting out the same calculation just over and over and over and over. And it seems ass backwards because, like, ultimately my conclusion is landing on I want to watch a guy who's less talented than Victor Wembanyama. But I think that's why. Does that make any sense? Because I think like that's the best way I could explain it. Is like watching a guy who's now going to come into the NBA who's 7'4", who can run the floor and block shots and put the ball on the floor and shoot fadeaways and has an 8-foot wingspan. It's like he's almost perfect. Where you're just like there's nothing else for this guy to do. That's not interesting to me. That's not like it's somehow he's too good. I'm not interested because of that. Because like watching his solution to the problem is like I'm just going to simply act like a 7-foot defender is not in my face, and I'm just going to shoot over him and make it.
I think
that's not relatable.
I agree with what you're saying. I think the most damning thing to me watching Victor now with a week removed is that I kind of respect it. When he was playing the game, there was a sequence where he jabs, right? It's an unnecessary jab, right? He can get by the guy one dribble and he's already at the basket, but he jabs again. The guy does not bite on the jab, and then he just does that. He just literally dribbles it and drives and dunks. And so like the jabs did
nothing.
But he doesn't need to do that. He's playing. He's like dancing. He's like doing ballet. Like he's going through the motions, which I appreciate because he's like I have to give them a little bit of a show and make it look difficult. But he has a fundamental base where he could literally go into the post and score every time because you can't block his shot. So like you said, that is like a different level of a cheat code. And as I've been sitting here thinking about mythical creatures that he could be, he's Bigfoot. And he has 20.5 size feet, which I think is Shaquille O'Neal, Bob Lanier are the only NBA players with bigger feet. So he's Bigfoot. He's Bigfoot.
Yeah, okay.
And it's like now I'm watching Bigfoot play basketball. He's unstoppable. And I think the reason why he might break the NBA is because when he comes into the NBA, he might be able to win the MVP his first year. I'm not even kidding. Like, who is blocking his shot? No one. Who, when you look at his frame, it looks like he can put on 40, 50 pounds. When he does that, when we saw Giannis at 19, 18, same time, he looked like, this little small doe. And now you look at him. That's what's going to happen to this guy. Wembanyama at 26, 27, 28 is going to be such an absolute dominant force, probably, if he doesn't get hurt.
He doesn't get hurt, yeah.
That, like you said, it's not even fun anymore because even if you could stop him theoretically, you can't. Like, there's no one else that matches up with him. He is one of one. They might have to expand the court size for him. You know what I mean? Like that's what you mean by this might not be fun. He could break basketball because not only does he have all those 8-foot wingspan, all that stuff, all these intangibles, he has this fundamental base that is better than our American players' fundamental base.
That's the second point I wanted to make.
That's what scares me the most about him.
The second point I wanted to make as to why I've landed on Team Scoot Henderson over Victor Wembanyama is that I think I want to reintroduce, and especially as this Redeem Team doc has come back, is out now, and there's like people are talking about that a little bit. I think Victor Wembanyama, for me, marks the moment in time where I want to argue that xenophobia in basketball is okay again. I think if you look at like the timeline of basketball around the world, basketball was a very American sport forever. I know everybody listening knows this. I'm just talking it out so we all have the same frame of reference here. A very American sport. Americans dominate. 1992, the Dream Team obviously like blows the doors wide open on basketball across the world. All of a sudden, all these people all over the world are interested in basketball in a way they're not. And ever since 92, America has kind of been the steward of the game for the rest of the world, and we're kind of like missionaries across the world and like teaching people about basketball, and the NBA is opening these things in Africa where you're like the pipeline from Nigeria is like exploded, and all over Europe the talent's exploded, and the NBA is the game has become very global. We know this. It is the second most popular game behind soccer, and all of it's been great, and along the way the USA when in 2008 you readjust the priorities and start actually taking the Olympics seriously, we've gone back to dominating everybody again, and we win every gold medal and all that. And I guess now I'm at a point in 2022 when you tell me that Joel Embiid could join the French team if he wanted to. I take a step back and I'm looking at Victor Wembanyama and I'm like, this has gone too far. I think this is the moment in time where we stop. It's like finding out that I don't know, man. Like Canada is a great neighbor to us, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't pay too much attention to geopolitics, Tate, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that like our relationship, USA and Canada, is great. A lot of people I know in America, they have no problem with Canada. They're like, Canada's pretty cool. I like our neighbors to the north. If Canada somehow had a bigger economy than us, like overnight, they were dominating the world economy, and also they have nuclear power, and also like we woke up into reality tomorrow where like that happened. Everybody in this country would be shitting their pants and be like, no, dude, I don't mess with Canada anymore. Even though they're like our ally,
Yeah.
like they're our ally because we're MJ and they're Charles Barkley, and we keep them like kind of under our thumb. Mm-hmm. Are you following what I'm saying here? That like there's always like that understanding of like
you know who the alpha is.
We will help you as long as you know who the alpha is.
Yes.
And then you see a Victor Wembanyama and you're like, holy shit, the everything just flipped on its head. This is scary where we're going. This is scary that Luka Doncic and Giannis Antetokounmpo and Nikola Jokic and Victor Wembanyama, like these are the guys.
Yeah, I mean, this
is scary.
Those are the top 5
and
players
as an American,
in the NBA.
As an American, I want to put my foot down and say, okay, enough's enough. We're done helping you. It's on now.
Yeah,
and I hope that's okay.
And I think it is okay. The most terrifying part about all this from the American basketball standpoint is that LeBron is 37 going on 38. Kevin Durant's 34. Steph Curry's 33, 34, right? So like our guys, our group of guys that are supposed to be the stewards of this, who's coming up next? Like, who is getting those spots? Ja Morant, Zion? Like, who is going to be that? And to be quite honest, if you look at who's going to be on that side and you look at who's going to be on the American side, you're right. There is reason for concern because if you go up against the French team in 2024 and they have Rudy Gobert, Victor Wembanyama, and Joel Embiid rotating out and swatting every ball off the rim and we look small, that's going to be terrifying. And it's also going to shock the entire American public because most of the time, as we've talked about, the American public is like, of course we won.
Yeah.
What was the score? What was the final score?
Yes.
I didn't even watch. They're going to have to watch now.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to be like, the scariest thing to me is that I thought when my existence on this earth ended, I would leave and say the greatest basketball player ever was from North Carolina.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan.
Yes.
And what scares me to death is that I might have to say the greatest basketball player ever is from France.
Yes.
And I don't want to do that.
I'm 100% with you, and I think like the experiment has gone on far enough. Is what I'm saying. I'm
It's
saying
too
like
much.
this is too much.
Yeah.
This is Adam Silver's fault. This is what Adam Silver's NBA has led to.
We've lost control.
We've lost control, dude.
Yeah.
We created Frankenstein's monster. Maybe that's the mythical feature.
Yes, he's Frankenstein.
He's Frankenstein. Victor Wembanyama is Frankenstein.
There you go.
The monster is too powerful, and I want to dial it back, and I do, and I don't know. Maybe that makes me a xenophobe. So be it. It is funny though, because if you talk like soccer, the xenophobia that exists in soccer is like celebrated. That you could just like say.
Of course, you're
you
supposed to love your country. Yeah.
Yeah, but like you could shit on. You could, if you're an American, you should just start shitting on the Mexican soccer players, and you're like, why do you hate Chicharito? And you're like, because he's a Mexican soccer player, dude. I hate the Mexican soccer players. They're our rivals. And I was like, that makes sense. That checks out. Or like the English would do it with, like all the rivalries.
They hate Wales right now.
I want that to exist in basketball, but like because we are so powerful as a country, America, we are so much better. The idea of like crapping on the Canadian national team, it feels like we're punching down at a very very extreme level. It's like, like let RJ Barrett think that he's good, like who cares? Like
exactly.
Let him
let
think
Canada,
that he's gonna lead.
let
Him and
Andrew Wiggins,
Yeah.
like let them have their time.
Oh, isn't it so cute that they think they're gonna beat a
Maple Jordan?
Yes.
Oh,
And what I'm saying is, it's no longer cute. I'm no longer laughing. This is a problem. And and you're exactly right. Like John Morant he's exciting, but I look at the next generation of American players versus. And it's scary. So that's why I'm a Scoot Henderson guy, I think, also.
Yeah,
It's like I need Scoot to represent the USA.
And we also need some guys to really step up on the USA side. Some of the younger guys to take, like right now, Trae Young is going to be really important to the American basketball future, right? Evan Mobley, we got to pray to God that Evan Mobley is who we think he is, right?
Evan Mobley is very important.
Yeah, exactly.
Very important.
So if you're putting chips into like who we need to really be focusing on, it's a different conversation. Like I'm happy for Durant, Steph, Kyrie, all those guys, but they're done, right? We got to figure out who the next 22 to 27 group is.
Yeah.
And invest.
Yeah.
And pray to God that they can handle Victor Wembanyama.
But also Victor Wembanyama averaged 9 points a game and 5 rebounds and shot 26% from three.
That's
in
the good
French
news
League last year. So
that's the good news.
Is even that good?
Yeah, that's the good news. Whatever NBA franchise gets Victor is going to immediately think that they have the biggest. They're going to think they have Wilt Chamberlain. They're going to think they have the biggest basketball asset in the world.
I currently live in two realities with Victor Wembanyama. He is both an existential threat to basketball in this country and must be stopped immediately. And also, he's an overrated little bitch who couldn't even average 6 rebounds a game in the French League.
And I think that's the attitude we have to keep. The latter. I think that's the attitude we have to keep until proven otherwise. I mean, we did it with Luka until proven otherwise. You got to stay strong here.
By the way, I should have said this at the start. Tate Frazier voice. I like Victor Wembanyama.
I like the guy.
I have nothing against the guy.
I really like the guy.
I am rooting for him to fail miserably, though. But I like him.
I really
do
like
him. But I just think that he represents a moment in time that this is no longer a game. This is serious business. And if we are going to continue to be the basketball kings of the world, we got to snuff this out while we can. I don't know.
You know what I heard the other day? That was a good note. As far as me liking Victor Wembanyama, I heard that Nick Batum, when he was taking all the money from the Hornets and not playing basketball, he was telling them about this 14-year-old in France, Victor Wembanyama.
Oh no!
And that they were like, okay. So I'm hoping that maybe
if
all
the Hornets
this,
get Victor and all.
If Michael Jordan gets Victor, then maybe, just maybe, I turn around. Just maybe.
You
I pull a Lafayette. I'm like, I actually like the French. I like the French. Yeah, those are my guys.
All of a sudden, there's like 38 shows in our database that have gone missing. Just deleted off the internet. How'd that happen?
What if Michael Jordan drafted him just to keep him from being great? Like he's like, we only get 10 shots a game.
He's like,
how do I stop this force? I get him here and I turn him into Bismack Biyombo.
He's like a Alabama or a Clemson or Ohio State recruiting. Where you're recruiting 5 stars even though you got a 5-star quarterback.
Yeah, you're already good at quarterback, but you want that number 1 quarterback just so Georgia doesn't.
He doesn't go somewhere else. Yeah,
that's what we need.
Didn't MJ do that with Kwame Brown?
Yeah, there you go. Good example, Jim. Good example. Kwame Brown would have been the GOAT. Yep. Everyone knows that.
Another fact check: Michael Jordan's from New York. Just to let you know.
Born in Brooklyn. Congratulations, Jim.
Yep.
Should we talk to Andy Katz?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. It's we don't need to set it up. You guys know Andy Katz by now, but I do want to go on record as saying that we need to have him on regularly this season. Can we do that?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk to Andy. All right, joining us now is a true friend of the program, a man that has become a regular on this show, although it's been way too long.
Way too long.
Way too long. And I gotta call you out on this because you come on the show regularly and you are a true friend of the program, and yet we've only ever like hung out together one time in person, and I don't even think it counts as hanging out because I think we were actually interviewing you at that point as well. Like, when are we gonna? I feel like
when are we gonna off-air hang?
Yeah. When are we gonna
break bread?
When are you gonna show us the ropes of Big J journalism and take us out and break some bread and teach us the tricks of the trade and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, first of all, I would love to hang out with you guys, and we should need to figure out throughout the course of the season or maybe off season. So that's number one.
Perfect.
Number two, Mark, you kind of probably blew me off when I was, at ESPN back in those early mid 2000s.
Yeah.
When Ohio State was going to Final Fours, and you were playing sort of Batman to Robin with Greg Oden, or Robin to Batman, excuse me.
I was gonna say that's really good. You're Batman.
When I met Tate, I was shocked that he's actually taller than I thought.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, so that was sort of a wild moment for me. And I would also say, you talk about the Big J. This show does not get enough credit for its breaking news, especially Tate. Tate was all over all things Carolina and Duke. So I do think that you deserve your props and need to get more credit for that Big J in journalism.
There we go.
Clip that out, Jim, please. Thank you, Andy. That was very kind.
Andy, I want to start a new game, by the way. Every time you come on, you're always wearing a different polo and have a different backdrop. And I want Tate and I to try to guess where you're at. So can you give us the time zone you're in? And you're wearing a Big Ten Network.
And he's got a Fox Sports background.
With the Fox Sports background.
Yeah.
Give us the time zone you're in. We're going to try to guess where you're at and what you're up to.
Well, I'm actually at home en route to Big Ten Media Day.
Oh, okay.
So about to leave for the airport. I thought I'd make sure that I'm well represented here with the Fox background. And then when I'm on the plane, people know that I'm going to be on Big Ten Network in the next few days.
There we go. Well, let's get into it, Andy. So I want to start with the big picture thing that the Final Four we had in April was, if not the greatest Final Four ever, one of them. I mean, the storylines were incredible. The games were incredible. Then the National Player of the Year is coming back for the first time in over a decade. All sorts of other guys that maybe could have gone to the NBA are back. Every blue blood going into this season, that includes Indiana and UCLA, even if you don't want to include them, but throw them in the mix. They all have national title aspirations. Is it fair to say that you are as excited as Tate and I are for this season, that this college basketball season, as it stands going into the season, is setting up to be an all-timer?
Yes. I mean, I think, first of all, we have tremendous storylines. And, one thing that we can get into a great debate about when you mention blue blood, I'd like to know, first of all, who gets credit for that definition, because I get criticized when I use it for certain teams, i.e. Gonzaga. I was in Las Vegas last week for WCC Media Day with the Zags, and I have referenced them as a blue blood with everything that they've done over the last 10 years, because the numbers are unbelievable in terms of number of weeks that they've been number one in the country, which is actually more than any other team, more Sweet 16s consecutively than any other. And they've got, with Oscar Tshiebwe, arguably one of the Player of the Year candidates back in Drew Timme. The interesting blue blood that you didn't mention that has a great storyline, but I don't think they're a national title contender, obviously, is Villanova, which we've sort of anointed with their two national champions to being a blue blood. But with Cal Neptune taking over for Jay Wright, I don't think we think that they're going to, as a collection here of college basketball minds, that they are in that same category this season. But I totally agree with you with all these other teams, including Duke, which has a new head coach in John Shire. I saw them on actually day one of practice a week ago Monday. And, they've got lottery picks. If it weren't for Scoot Henderson and, of course, Victor Wembanyama, I got to get this right. Wembanyama?
Yeah, you got it.
Did I get it right?
Yeah. I mean, as long as you say it fast, it sounds good.
Wembanyama.
There you go.
Maybe? Anyway, Victor, you take those two out, and then you've got certainly Derek Lively and Derek Whitehead will certainly be in that grouping in the next tier of lottery picks. So they're going to be a great watch. And I think these Duke Carolina games are going to be unbelievable again as we see the new era of Shire and Hubert Davis.
Well, talking about Shire and mentioning Kyle Neptune earlier, what would you say? There's been a lot of big time coaching changes happening in this sport, obviously, over the offseason. Not what is the best hire, because let's not do it this way. I'm done trying to grade hires. Ever since Archie Miller at Indiana didn't work out and Mick Cronin at UCLA is working out, I've decided to just retire from trying to
get done with grades.
I'm done trying to figure out what's a good hire and what's a bad hire. But what to you, Andy, is the most intriguing new hire? What coach at his new school?
We got Thad Matta at
has
Butler,
your attention the
Sean
most,
Miller at Xavier. A lot of options.
Look, I think it has to be Shire for me because first of all, he's coming in a completely different era. You know, if a young early 30s John Shire takes over 5 years ago, let alone 10, I think it's a different ball game, and I think it's a much different hill to climb. He's coming in now where NIL will keep players in. He hires Rachel Baker, who is familiar in this. She's sort of like this NIL GM, savvy to that. Clearly the Coach K finale last season helped in recruiting in terms of them, getting to the Final Four and allowing Shire to sort of see, look, I'm a part of this. And he goes out and recruits another top recruiting class. They've got all the bells and whistles at Duke to be successful, but yet he is still young, and this is his first time. And he's got, what really struck me when I was at practice was how young the staff is, and I think that'll have a good connection where he's got, Jay Lucas from Kentucky, Chris Carrawell, Emil Jefferson. That's his sort of core group. They're all younger guys. And I think it'll be intriguing to see how they progress in this new era.
Was Coach K at that practice that you were at?
No. In fact, it's interesting you asked that because he was away that week. This is the first week of practice. Mm-hmm. And my understanding at being at Duke is that he is not going to be there, not in his office. That has stayed. But
he's still in his office, correct. That is confirmed.
Yes. Although my understanding is that Shire, all those offices are going to get changed or whatever.
Yeah, he's getting his own office. Yeah, they're building him his own office.
Yes.
The head coach is getting his own office? Wow, that's big. That's amazing.
But he's not going to be a presence at practice or at games this entire season, from what I understand. As you know, first of all, you can't hide at Cameron. There's no suites.
Yeah, exactly.
And actually, kind of the same thing with Jay Wright. You could do it at Wells Fargo. You could sit in a suite, but at the Pavilion, you can't hide. I don't think we will see Jay Wright there either. Think back though to the late great John Thompson. The few times, count on maybe two fingers, that I actually went to a Georgetown practice during the John Thompson the third. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're right.
Practices. Big John was there. He was always there. And which you could argue on one side, that's great. You've got this sage, person for the players to talk to, but on the other, he was always there. And yes, it's his son coaching, but I don't get the sense that Coach K or Jay Wright will be a presence at practice or games, certainly not this season.
But K will still be a presence.
Yeah,
just not at practice.
We're talking about Coach K. Are we talking about the
practice and game?
Yeah.
The dog?
Now, I would also say this, guys. I wouldn't rule out Coach K going to, and I don't know this, but let's say Champions Classic in Indiana, or the Nike event in Portland. An event like that where you're in an NBA arena, so you can kind of hide, or the Jimmy V at MSG. I think the suites aspect is critical here to sort of at least have distance, and not be sort of hovering. You can't hide at Cameron.
Yeah, he can't go to Cameron games.
So what you're telling me is that all season we're once again going to be talking about Mike Krzyzewski and figuring out which game he's going to, and is he not there? Krzyzewski watch. We zoom in on every chair in Cameron Indoor Stadium.
In MSG, they're just trying to find him in a suite.
Oh, that's great. I bet college basketball fans are excited about that. They're going to love that.
I will say this though, but maybe this is more like maybe it's because Hubert is older, but I don't know what their agreement was or whatever, but Roy did make appearances last year.
He went to a lot of games.
Yeah, and so clearly, Hubert was okay with it. At least we think he was, and I feel like Roy felt comfortable, obviously, to be there. So look, if there's any Final Four appearance, I mean, Roy was really present with all his former players. I talked to him during the game when I was doing Silence for Westwood One. I clearly think that Coach K would be there in that kind of scenario.
Gotcha.
Okay, so same question. Which coach are you most intrigued by? Except we're going to cut that entire part about because we just don't want to go down that road again this season, talking about K all season. So let's answer
By
it
the
again.
way, you know what the consensus number one is, though?
What's that?
My consensus preseason number one.
Who's number one? Is it are you Tar Heel?
Let's see.
There you go.
There
Carolina.
You go. I like
All
that.
The AP poll. I will be very, very, very surprised if when the AP poll comes out on Monday the 17th, which is when it is supposed to come out, preseason top 25.
Next Monday.
Yes. I will be shocked if Carolina is not number one.
Well, Andy, don't
Love
you think
that.
that's good for college basketball? Because I think like Houston might have a case to be better than Carolina, and they might end up being better. I don't know. They're interesting. They have my attention certainly, but I think when you look at like the storyline, certainly you have to give Carolina. I think that's what college basketball needs is North Carolina as the number one team. Now whether they're going to actually be the best, we'll find out. But because I think like a lot of
like here's the thing though. Can I just say this, guys? I have seen criticism when I posted my latest, Power 36, and people are like, oh, he was in on UCLA last year, and now he's doing the same thing with Carolina. The difference, I think, is first off, I just think Carolina is better, okay, than the UCLA team. Yes, both teams got hot late, but I would argue that Carolina, their run to the Final Four and title game, they beat better teams. They had the road win at Duke. And, I can see the comparison, but I just think the players that all returned for Carolina are simply better than the ones that returned to UCLA last year. And I do believe, and I saw him a lot, I think the Pete Nance addition will be the perfect replacement of Brady Manick. They are very similar, and
team first
Pete Nance,
guys. Yep.
I really believe this was one of those transfer portal pickups that didn't get a lot of buzz. That's going to end up being a huge offseason move.
And they took him, in theory, over Gigi Jackson, who was the number one recruit in the class, who ended up going to South Carolina. So it was a decision to say we'd rather have this veteran and go for a championship than placate the one-and-done game, which is very much in line with what Roy was preaching at the end of his career, and Hubert's picking up on that as well and going in the portal. So
can I also point out that
just follow up that real quick, is that the key thing with Nance is he just wants to win.
Yeah.
He had some moments at Northwestern. He's, not been to the tournament. And so as a fifth-year guy who knows that Baycott, at least inside, is the man, and, Davis and Love are obviously going to get their share, Leaky Black a little bit. But, I mean, Nance knows I'm a piece.
Yeah.
I don't need to be the go-to. I'm a piece, and I just want to win.
And he said as much.
I think,
yeah,
I mean, Gigi Jackson, obviously he wants to win. He wants to be a champ and all that. But at the same time, you just can't compare the maturity, a freshman who wants to be the guy. I think this is a much better play for this season.
Can I also remind everybody that's making the comparison to UCLA last year and North Carolina this year, that UCLA was very, very, very good last year.
They were going to go to the Final Four if Carolina doesn't beat them.
UCLA entered February ranked third in the country last season.
And going into the tournament, I mean, pretty much most people I saw had them going to the Final Four, and they were on their way.
Everybody makes that comparison as though UCLA last year missed the tournament or snuck into the first four, and UCLA brought back a great team, and they were very good all season. Could have gone to the Final Four. The ball didn't bounce their way. That's the way it works sometimes. So yeah, that's Andy, can we talk a little Big Ten, because you got your Big Ten polo on? Talking about the NCAA tournament last year. What is the official? I guess maybe we could ask you after Big Ten Media Days, but what are the official PR spins of
what happened
last year? Because 2 years ago, the Big Ten had the really embarrassing tournament where it felt like we had like 3 or 4 national title contenders, and all of them lost immediately. And that
in Mackey.
Yeah, and the tournament's taking place in the whole state of Indiana. We all know what happened. Last year, the Big Ten wasn't as good in the sense that, like, guys like you and I that carry water for the Big Ten, we didn't necessarily think that there were a lot of top-tier teams. And yet somehow the tournament was still a complete embarrassment when you think about how the teams lost. That, like, Indiana got strangled by St. Mary's and lost by, like, 30 and scored – how many points did they score? Like 50 or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
I wrote some of them down. Illinois had the same thing happen against Houston. They scored 53 points. Purdue loses to St. Peter's. Iowa goes ice cold against Richmond. Wisconsin scores 49 points against Iowa State. What is the official talking point? Is it the ball, Andy? Is that what we're going with? The new ball last year?
It was too orange.
I think this. First of all, this is not an excuse. On the Indiana one, keep in mind, they just got hot late, and we can talk about them in a second about this season, but if there's ever a team you do not want to face with no prep, it is St. Mary's.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy was like 35 years old in that game and was slicing and dicing them. So that was a bad loss. To me, the one, I would say this, Purdue, inexcusable.
Yeah.
Inexcusable.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Okay, because they had a whole week to get ready for St. Peter's.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Kentucky, horrible loss, to St. Peter's in round 1 of 15-2. But Purdue had the entire, 4 or 5 days, whatever it is, but they had plenty of time to prepare for that game.
And not take them lightly. Yeah.
Brainer. And that was embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
No question for Purdue. They will not live that down anytime soon. Wisconsin, the injury to Chucky Hepburn certainly was damaging for them because they just had no backup in that game against Iowa State.
Yep.
And they assumed, because they were in Milwaukee, they were going to get to Chicago, and they didn't. So that was really disappointing and to some degree embarrassing for them too, because they thought that they were going to advance. It was just kind of crazy that the much maligned, Michigan Wolverines were again the team that, everyone was sort of looking toward to see if they were going to make another run. And it didn't happen. But, this year they have lost some of the star power. Well, Iowa too, you mentioned, that was horrendous.
That was bad.
As good as Richmond was in that game, Iowa just won the Big Ten tournament.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a lottery pick in Keegan Murray. That shouldn't have happened. But they lost a lot of star power, but I think the depth will be there for NCAA tournament teams led by Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And I put all my chips in on the Hoosiers. There's no question they should be the favorite. They will be the favorite. They've got a great non-conference schedule. And, it's right there for them to be that team that potentially can make a run to the Final Four.
And we're going to be there November 30th when North Carolina comes to town. And you know how it works at Assembly Hall. They bring North Carolina in, and it's like a slaughter. They're just like, we bring you in, we pepper you up, we tell you how great it is to have this historical matchup. And then
you print the shirts that say we're back. You throw them, you distribute them all around.
They blow
Bloomington.
the brakes off North Carolina, and that's how the story goes. So I do feel like Indiana, the way that the schedule is set up and the way that the kind of cards have been laid out for them in the Big Ten, this is an Indiana year. I really think so.
Well,
I'm knocking on wood.
Really, and we're going to talk about this. I'm going to circle it here. I already know I'm going to be there at this game. The game after that game against Carolina, where they opened the Big Ten days later?
The Hoosiers? Who's that?
At the Rack.
Oh. Oh, you love Rutgers, don't you? You love Rutgers. You love this Rutgers team.
You're coming off the high of potentially beating Carolina.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then days later, you open the Big Ten at Rutgers.
That is true.
And people forget.
Is that not dangerous?
No, very dangerous. And I remember last year Rutgers doing to Purdue the similar thing. Purdue gets #1 in the country for the first time. They're celebrating, and then boom.
In fact,
Rutgers
my
comes
father, an Indiana alum, Andy, when Purdue beat Rutgers, when Purdue got ranked #1 and then immediately lost to Rutgers, my father bought a bunch of Rutgers shirts and hats and all this sort of thing to wear
around town.
Yeah, around town. And I think that's poetic justice for them to now like be like
Yeah,
the same
Rutgers
thing
did the same
happens.
thing.
Yeah, Indiana beats Carolina. Now Indiana's ranked
Steve
number one.
Peichel is just like, I get rid of Indiana teams as soon as they get on their high horse.
Hey, can you ask final Big Ten thought, and then we can move on. Will you promise me at Media Days get to the bottom of? I couldn't help but notice that Michigan and Juwan Howard make their trip back to Madison on Valentine's Day, and I want to know, was that intentional? That like on the day of love, that the Big Ten is trying to like bring Greg Gard and Juwan Howard together? Are they going to make them kiss before the game? Was that intentional?
That's a Kevin Warren question, right?
Yeah, ask Kevin Warren. Like, was that? Did anybody put any thought to that? That you made these two teams that fought each other are now meeting on Valentine's Day? I don't know. That's something that I noticed when I was digging through the schedule.
That was a great
idea. By the way, for your travel schedule, I'm shocked that you guys are not taking the road trip to London for the Michigan-Kentucky game.
I forgot that's happening. How is John Calipari winning this offseason, Andy? Can you explain that to us? Because like this man had
lost to St. Peter's.
Lost to St. Peter's the year before. It was atrocious, like the worst season of his career. And Tate and I looked at each other like, this is gonna be a fun offseason because Cal's just gonna like hide in a bunker and we're not gonna see him all.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
The exact opposite happened. And then he's raising money.
Doubled down.
He's raising money for the tornado victims in Kentucky and all that stuff to where the flood victims. I'm sorry. To where now you're like, I can't make, you know, like I don't understand how this happened. Like it's just like a hard pivot where John Calipari can't stop winning despite
losing.
I remember what I saw, Andy. He lost to a 15 seed.
How's he doing?
No, and look, I mean, getting Oscar Tshiebwe back, you know, it's massive. It just doesn't happen, but it doesn't happen any other year. But now in this new era of NIL, and so you know, having that as an anchor, having you know, clearly. Wheeler back and Toppin, the younger Toppin. They've got veterans. That almost never happens at Kentucky.
Yeah.
So you add that with a really good recruiting class. People forget C.J. Frederick, the Iowa shooter. He was hurt all last year. He's now, you know, supposedly healthy. So there's a lot of optimism. And, you know, I think also in the SEC, there's a little bit of a chip now. Like, wait a minute. We're not the team that always wins or expected to. With Arkansas now, obviously with Eric Musselman, who's dominated social media with a pretty good team as well.
Yep.
Auburn, obviously with Bruce, and then Tennessee. Alabama, obviously, has gotten to be consistent. So there's a lot of company now for Kentucky in the SEC. That is not a given anymore.
And Florida, right?
With
Todd Golden, right? Don't you feel like he's going to be the golden boy, right?
Yes.
There you go.
do, with Colin Castleton back and Kyle Lofton, the Bonnie, transferring down there. He gets an immediate point guard who's got a lot of veteran, you know, experience. So I think that, Florida will be in the mix as well.
You got anything else for him?
No, I was going to ask Andy, is there any dark horse team that you're like, other than Rutgers? We know you love Rutgers, but is there any other team that's kind of out there that you're like, you need to watch these guys? Is it someone like Dayton, but maybe off the beaten path, not one of these power teams, but you're just like, these guys are going to be fun to watch?
All right, so one of the teams that is out your way that I do think will have a moment in the top 25 is Wyoming.
Like it.
Hunter Maldonado and Graham Ike are back. They're going to be pushing San Diego State. They made the NCAA tournament last year, played Indiana, so they've got that experience, and they got the guys back. They actually got transfers from USC, so they've actually got experience. And that's a really hard home court. Years ago in another lifetime, I used to cover the WAC, and you know, at 7,000 feet altitude, that can be one of the harder home courts to win in. So I do think Wyoming will have its moment this season.
Maldonado was awesome last year, and then had a stinker of a game against Indiana. So I'm excited that he's back in college basketball and get to
You like that one?
I do. That's a great
like
pick.
that one,
That's a great pick, Andy. All right, we're gonna let you go because we know you got to get on a flight. But before we do, last question: do you have any fun stories from you? You were in Springfield for Bob Huggins, right? Getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. Do you have any stories you can share with us? Maybe you can share some off air when we grab dinner together sometime. But
well, this is what I will say.
Yeah.
My only wish would have been is if they had Huggins practice on the teleprompter, because it was a little painful. Because Hugs, as you know, is not a great public speaker. He's got a great wit, but he's a low talker.
Yeah.
bit of a mumbler, and the teleprompter aspect of the Hall of Fame speech was a little rough.
Okay.
They should have been a little bit of a practice. But I will say this: Bugs is the Pied Piper. I could not get over the busloads. I'm not embellishing. Busloads of West Virginians who made that trip, and Kenyon Martin. I mean, he was front and center. I talked. He would not miss this for the world. By the way, for you basketball historians, he's convinced they would have won the national championship that year had he not broken his leg.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree with that.
2000, right?
So the Big Ten, they lost another title.
So you're trying to take the latest Big Ten title from us? Kenyon, shut up.
I'm just saying. And then Deshaun Butler. On that one, I'm going to challenge them because they were losing that game to Duke. Had he not gotten hurt, I still don't think they would have won that game. So I'm going to give him the Kenyon Martin one. I'm not going to give him Butler. But that Hugs thinks they would have had 2 titles, one at Cincinnati, one at West Virginia. I'm not buying necessarily the one at West Virginia. Your thoughts on that 2010?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think 2010. I think the only team that can say what if is Butler, and what if the Rams would have been a little looser and Gordon.
Like you said, Duke was winning that game.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
no matter how it played out.
But
Duke
also,
was
that's
win.
the joy of college sports: is you what if yourself to death, and you get a.
And if you're Huggy Bear, I'm definitely saying that.
Yeah,
I would have won 2 titles.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, no question about it. Andy, you're the best. We look forward to a fun season having you on. And you always accuse us every time you come on and we talk about how long it's been. You accuse Tate and I. So I want to take this opportunity on air to go ahead and throw our entire production team under the bus and say it's their fault. It's not our fault. We want to have you on all the time. I promise you.
No, I mean, I'm not hiding. Everyone knows where I am.
And you got the backdrop with you, so it's money. We got it all set up.
All right. Enjoy Big Ten Media Days, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See ya. All right, thank you as always to Andy Katz, who we didn't ask him about his marathons today. We saw that he had run 2 half marathons.
Yes, which I think adds up to 1 marathon. So, because I was asking you this. There's the 13.
Hold on. Let me do the math. Slow down.
Now
2 halves.
Now there's the 13.1 stickers that people put on their cars. They're like, I'm a half marathoner. But I've always wondered, if you are a half marathoner, why wouldn't you just add up 2 of your half marathons and then put 26.2 on your car, because that's really the number that everyone knows anyway. And if I'm Andy, I ran a whole marathon, so just 26.2.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask him that.
That's a good thing.
Just
but then where do you draw the line? Because what if I ran 1 mile? Do I just get to multiply it by 26.2?
Well, it goes back into false advertising too, because you meet someone 26.2, you're like, what marathon you run in, and you say, I ran in these 2, and they're like, wait.
That's the equivalent of like a per 40-minute stat.
Yeah. Yeah. Per 40 minutes, I averaged 30 points a game. I averaged 30 points a game.
Per 40. My per 40 numbers were incredible. We forgot to talk about the latest with the Draymond. I mentioned it at the top, but we didn't. I don't know what else there. I will say, when the video came out, my reaction was the same as I think a lot of people's, which was, holy shit, Ty Jerome's on the Warriors?
Yeah. Shout out Ty Jerome. I actually texted him when I saw the video, and I was like, dude, do work with the Dubs. And I think he changed his number because it came up green. I'm like, what the hell, Ty? But, I was very excited about Ty Jerome being there. And he's a great backup for Steph Curry, right? I could see that working out.
I had no idea he was on the Warriors until I saw Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole in the face.
I think they picked him up off waivers, and no one's going to know. But I think they cut Mac McClung to keep Ty Jerome, which is a W for our program. I mean, it hurts on one side, but Ty Jerome, yes.
Yeah. Was it a punch, by the way? Because the Juwan Howard situation has me rethinking.
What striking?
Yeah, or like that was the waters got muddied when Juwan Howard struck a man, and then everyone was like, "Well, is this even a punch? Should we?" How many knuckles
smack.
did he have bent?
Yeah.
When he
I think a smack is better than a punch. I think this video coming out, I mean, as Draymond said it in his press conference, he was like, it definitely looks worse than I thought it was in the moment. I'm like, yeah, it looks pretty bad, man. It looks really bad. And I think the most damning part of the video is just that everyone's reaction is kind of nonchalant about it, which means that Draymond definitely behaves this way quite a bit. Not to say that he knocks people out, but he definitely he thought it was a closed practice and he was behaving as such. And the way Ron Adams, one of the Warriors assistants, basically walked through the moment as it was happening and was not even fazed by it. Ty Jerome wasn't even fazed by it. So you're just the way that it looked on camera with no audio. I'm like, it did not look great.
It's a matter of perspective when you say that this wasn't this doesn't seem that unusual that Draymond did this, because on the one hand you're like, this is not that big of a deal. He does this all the time.
Which you're
like, this is just standard operating procedure for Draymond. This is not that big of a deal. But then when you hear that, you're like, wait, this happens all the time.
Yeah, that definitely makes it more of a big deal, right? And if you really think about the Warrior, the team that's handling all this, like Steve Kerr, Joe Lacob, Bob Myers, right? Those three down the line of owner to GM to coach, right? They pretty much are at the top of the list of like how to handle damage control and they've dealt with so much with this Warriors run. So the fact that this got out the way that it did, and they're having to handle it the way that they're having to handle it publicly, just goes like, imagine this happened with the Hornets. I mean, it would be chaos. We wouldn't know what to do, and they don't know what to do with this whole situation. And then Draymond removes himself from the team. Like almost as
I think the most damning part is that it was $10,000. That tells me that whoever leaked it really hates Draymond.
Exactly.
Like, wasn't looking for
which
that
goes
big of a
back to what we were
payday.
just saying. This is like almost standard protocol for him to do some out of pocket stuff.
Yeah.
And then everyone else has to deal with the fallout from it. To me, it was like, this is bully behavior, and this guy's a bully, and now he got caught on camera, and he's like, oh, my bad. I didn't know it was like that. And I don't know. I mean, I feel bad for Jordan Poole. That getting leaked, I mean, that's you never know what the ramifications are on someone that seems to be built by confidence, right? The way that he played. You know, you just never know. Luckily, in the preseason game, he had like 25 points in 15 minutes last night and looked great. So that's a good news. But if I'm Jordan Poole, my relationship with Draymond is definitely different.
Definitely different.
Definitely
I don't want to pretend like this is not a big deal or not. This is nothing. But also, yeah. I do think there's something too. Like the reactions that all the guys had were nonchalant, and I do think that anyone who's been on a team at a certain level,
you've seen something along these lines.
Shit.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, this isn't exactly shocking what transpired. Now, if he would have if this would have turned into a was it Georgetown against China when they got into that fight?
Yeah, it was like a melee.
A melee?
Yeah, that was great.
If like the practice became that and Draymond, like someone was coming to take Draymond off and Draymond turned and punched the coach and then punched Steph and then
picked up a chair and put it over his head.
Yeah, hold a chair over his head. If all of that starts transpiring, that might be a little different, but I don't know, man. An isolated incident like that, like I don't think it's damning for the Warriors. I don't think it's like I don't think the Warriors can't bounce back from this or anything like that. But you're right. If I'm Jordan Poole, the relationship with Draymond, but does the relationship with Draymond need to be great in the first place? I mean, they're professional athletes. Yeah. It's not like all these guys are best friends to begin with. It's not like they're all like, you know, I get that the propaganda that gets put out by the Warriors is like they got the Phil Jackson, what was the word, Ubuntu? Is that the word that Phil always used?
I think so, yeah.
Like the Warriors are the modern day version of that, where it's like they're all best friends and they all like, you know, love each other.
Kumbaya.
At a level. Yeah, it's kumbaya at a level you wouldn't know. All these other teams just can't reach our level. I'm going to call bullshit on that, Tate, and say that there's some guys on the Warriors. Every year that they won a title, there's been at least one guy on the Warriors who's like, I don't know, man. I don't. There's dudes I play basketball with.
Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what it is. I mean, there's usually always one of those guys.
And that's true of like every team and that's how it always works. So I guess like in that regard, if they're not best friends, who cares? The problem becomes like Jordan Poole like will not pass the ball to Draymond.
Yeah.
Or like shit like that, you know?
Who
like
knows?
I don't want to be on the court at the same time as this man. That's a problem. But I don't think it's going to get to that. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I don't think so either, because I think Jordan Poole, the way that he has handled it, at least from the outside looking in, I mean, you know, he seems to be like he's moving on from it, which is, you know, kudos to him. The unfortunate part is that Draymond is supposed to be like every team has vets and every team has younger guys. Poole is in the group of younger guys. Draymond is obviously a vet, and you're supposed to watch over this younger group inherently at some level. And for like an older guy, a vet, to do something like that to a younger guy, it really crosses the line. And that's why I think you saw Iguodala and Steph come out when all the character stuff was coming out about Jordan Poole. They were like, because they're vets. And they're like, you're not going to talk about you're not going to talk about my little brother like that. Like, you're not going to leak this information. So,
what's a bigger story to you, the Ime Udoka situation or Draymond?
I mean, I think
like as it stands right now.
As it stands right now, I think Draymond is more interesting to me just because it actually is on the court. You know, like I'm going to be able to see if Draymond's not setting hard screens for Jordan Poole, or if Jordan Poole, like you said, is icing out Draymond Or like for the first time, right, in January when Jordan Poole doesn't take a charge and Draymond's, MFing him in the lane, and then Jordan Poole's like, get out my face, bro. Like, you're not my guy.
We still don't know what Ime Udoka did. I mean, I know. I know.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, but the public doesn't. And unfortunately, I'm not. Maybe next show.
If there was a video, I think the Ime situation is. But like Draymond having this video, as stupid as it is, it does add another dimension to the whole conversation. We all see it.
We're running a little long on this show, so I'm not going to share what I know about the Ime Udoka. I'll do it next show, maybe.
Yeah,
but
maybe next show.
I do know what happened. But like, if Ime Udoka, whatever the hell it is that happened, is as bad as Matt Barnes, which at this point, by the way, I'm very much of the belief that Matt Barnes was fed bad information and heard like someone just made up some heinous shit and told Matt Barnes that's what happened.
Yeah,
and then he was just like, how is this man not in prison? We're like, yeah, exactly, Matt. That's
Matt, it might not be that.
It might not be that.
Yeah.
But it sounds like the Ime Udoka, whatever happened, might be worse of like an isolated incident. But in terms of the more intriguing fallout, I think it's definitely the Draymond story. Because to me, like the Celtics seem to have cut the cancer out, so to speak, and now they're gonna move on and like proceed with whatever. Like they still have their team. You still have a coach now that's taking over. The problem has now been removed for this season. That's not exactly how it works, but more or less.
Yeah.
Whereas now the Warriors have to proceed with two guys that fought each other and one punched the other in the face, and now they have to play together, and we have to see how it all
can come together and galvanize actually around Udoka's situation. The Warriors are splintered as a group because
so that's going to be more fascinating to watch that.
Of course. And like, I'm not saying Draymond is Jordan Poole's vet. I highly doubt that he is. I really do. But he might be Steph's rookie. You know what I mean?
Was it like a frat, like a big?
No,
and
but
little,
that's
like
everybody has. That's what they do, man.
Is that how frats work? Like you have like a
little brother,
little brother.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of like, I don't think Draymond is Jordan Poole's vet, but I do think that whoever his vet is, whether it be Curry or Iggy or whoever it is, Clay, I don't know which one it is, they're gonna have something to say to Draymond. That's a separate conversation too. That's why they're like, Draymond has to earn the respect of these guys again because he pissed off everybody.
Devil's advocate: if Jordan Poole was in fact talking about his actual pool that he's calling Jordan Poole, I don't want to victim blame.
Yeah.
However,
sometimes you start talking out of pocket. But Draymond, the way that he even came off the court, I think that's the part that it's like, if it happened on the I got in a fight in practice in high school, but it was like it was in a heated moment on the field. And
like
then we got in a fight. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and then we got in a fight.
And
then it like escalates
That's
that.
true.
But he walked off the court of play to someone who's not on the court, and then basically snuffed him out and looked like he knocked him out, right? I mean, based on how the video looks. So it's like, that is just another level of being a bully, and you went out of your way to do that. Which that's. I get the heat of battle, but like you're like basically just moseying around, plotting this, and then you go over and do it, and then after you do it, you're like, hands up, like I don't know. It's not a good video.
I promised I wouldn't mention a certain name, and use it as content anymore.
Oh
so
no,
I'm not. I'm not going to mention the name. But I had a teammate.
He who shall not be named.
Try to fight me many times. It looked a lot like the video. And we're great friends now. We're best friends now, as it turns out. So I don't know. There you go. Yeah.
That's good news.
And we also, at that time when these fights were happening, we won Big Ten shit, multiple Big Ten. We won the Big Ten regular season. We won the Big Ten tournament. We were a very successful team. So as it turns out, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah,
we'll see.
And maybe like it's part of the team, right? They're used to, like you said,
no,
if Jordan Poole is always running his mouth, and then everyone kind of knows that.
Which I was always running my mouth.
Yeah, so it's like those are the type of moments that like maybe there is an understanding, but now that internal locker room understanding that would all be there is now gone, because you don't think people are texting Jordan Poole? They're like, you better get this dude back.
I do.
Like that is happening.
I do, in my heart of hearts, believe the biggest issue, if I'm moving forward with the Warriors, I genuinely believe this. The biggest issue within the organization now is that someone sold this video for $10,000 rather than one teammate punched another. I'm not even saying that to be funny. I genuinely believe that, because I assume like the guy who sold it must have made hundreds of thousands or something, because like why else would you
jeopardize
the
and
good
also the Warriors said they're going to take
situation.
legal action, right? Like they were like,
well, as they should, because that's like a bigger deal. Are they
Of
taking
course.
legal action against Draymond? No,
no, exactly. Because at the end of the day, but you don't want to glorify fights or whatever. But like that's what I have appreciated. It has seemed for the most part, most of the old heads that I've seen chime in on this are like, I don't wear it as a badge of honor that I got in a bunch of fights. I didn't want to get in a bunch of fights.
Unless you're talking about the old Big East.
Or like Charles Oakley or
Charles
something.
Oakley,
I mean, there's like
Well,
the
no,
only
you're
guys
right,
that are glorifying fight. Everyone else, like I asked BJ.
I didn't want to kick his ass, but I had to back then.
Well, I asked BJ about the Steve Kerr Michael Jordan thing, and he's just like, it was a heated practice. They were on different teams. Kerr's guarding him, you know. And but it happened in the heat of the play. It didn't happen outside of that. That's the worst part of this whole thing.
Yeah. And that a kid sold it for $10.
yeah, and that kid, and that idiot kid.
Shout outs, closeouts, or do we have football thoughts? Do we have baseball thoughts?
I mean,
shout out to the Mets.
Oof.
Shout out to Jim's
Another
New York
cheating
Mets.
scandal.
Another cheating scandal with the Mets
wow.
Padres. Huh?
Wow.
Yeah, that Padres.
That
picture.
was pathetic.
I
Hilariously
love
pathetic.
my guy Mad Dog. He was like the Mets. He was like, if you didn't think they could get even more embarrassing, they sent out someone to go check on the pitcher that is holding them to one hit in the 6th inning. You know.
And then Musgrove, he powers him, right? Smelled the fingers.
I think he rubbed it. He rubbed it on his jersey, right? That's what everyone's saying in the replay, that he rubbed his right ear on his jersey.
Yeah,
oh,
he's
and then
cheating.
and then he would do the Macarena to get it onto his.
And then everyone was saying that he was rubbing his ear every time he touched the ball. I'm like, I didn't know that they had guys live looking at the spin rate to check and see if teams are cheating. But apparently both teams, the spin rate was up on the ball. So it could go back to your theory about certain balls being out there, to give certain spin rate.
Yeah, dude. Of course. Everyone's cheating.
Well, they're trying to blame. They're trying to blame the pitchers. The pitchers are like, they check their hands when they walk, like they're criminals. Like when they come off, they check their hands, wipe their hands down.
Stop and frisk.
Yeah, get fingerprints. They have to walk through like a metal detector.
Dropping the pants to the was
it's like going to public school now.
Did Lance Lynn do that? My not to name drop, but I've talked about Lance before.
Yeah,
I went to high school with Lance, and we were super close for like 6 months. One of the funniest human beings I've ever known in my life. I have I could be wrong, but I have a memory of Lance one time dropping his pants as he walked off the
through his belt at the umpire.
That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lance kept getting checked. Was he on the White Sox or the Rangers?
White
or
Sox.
Yeah. Yeah. And he walked off and took his pants and just he's here spreading his cheeks in front of the ump.
I mean, that's honestly the best way to approach it, right? Like if they're coming out and accusing you, I mean, you might as well just lean into it.
Well, he was caught.
Well, and then you might as well just expose them. Yeah.
Lance was caught?
Well, he was ejected, it says, so.
No, he was ejected for showing up the ump. Not because he had stuff. He was ejected because he was spreading his cheeks in front of the ump and saying go ahead, stick your head up there, see what you
they
find.
didn't catch anything?
Yeah.
Respect.
I think. I don't know. But
he's
Lance
clean.
is the best,
He's
dude.
clean in my book.
Lance is Lance is.
Oh, the ump said he needed to see his belt, so Lance took it off and threw it at him.
Oh,
and that's when he was thrown out.
Dude, that's Lance right there. That's the Lance Lynn I know and love.
I mean, respect. He's like, here, you want to see it? Throw it out.
Speaking of cheating, the Kansas Jayhawks football team was cheated, and I just want to go on record as saying, Kansas, I see you, I speak your name, and what happened was flat out wrong against TCU. The horse collar, not called. I did actually watch it. I didn't think I was going to be able to watch it. I did watch the whole game, and I was disgusted at what transpired. Never mind. TCU fans, turn this off. We're not talking about you right now. I do think Kansas got a lot of favorable calls throughout the game, but doesn't matter. At the end, they were cheated. Refs were bad both ways. We'll put it that way. That's how you know I'm not biased. Refs were bad both ways.
I do appreciate
but
the
I think
AP
Kansas
voters.
got cheated more.
You think they got hosed? I do think that the AP voters keeping them at number 19, not dropping them, because
That was fair.
I thought it was cool. They were they lost their quarterback and they played a really good game. And I mean, Bean looked pretty solid at times.
It might be better that they lost moving forward, so they don't have the target
Undefeated,
on the back and the undefeated thing to worry about. Now you can just play football, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what you're supposed to say? Isn't that the spin zone?
Exactly. It's like we only lost one. We'll win the rest.
Happy Matt Rule Day, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say that was my shout out. Is a shout out to the Carolina Panthers for finally, after 33 months of absolute turmoil, while they promoted the South Carolina Panthers, they threatened to move the team to Rock Hill, South Carolina. They hired a college coach that everyone knew was going to be bad and gave him a 7-year contract. They decided to finally get rid of him. So Matt Rule, see you later. one of the worst eras of Panther football ever by a mile. It was depressing at times. But
And
now
that
I feel
includes
like
the Delhomme, the end of the Delhomme era as well. And that includes that. Like,
Yeah.
it's even worse than that.
it's worse than that. It's worse than when Jake Delhomme went into the playoffs and threw 5 picks to the Arizona Cardinals. It's worse than that. I would much rather watch Jake Delhomme sell me Bojangles and throw 5 interceptions in the first round of the playoffs than to watch Matt Rule flounder in a stupid vest on the sidelines with no idea what he's doing. And then have dumbass Ben McAdoo calling plays. So I think today is a good day for all Carolina Panthers fans. And get a quarterback, maybe your guy, C.J. Stroud.
That'd be nice.
Maybe my guy, Drake May, in a couple years, you know. But get a
They're
quarterback
going to draft a quarterback this draft. aren't
this
they?
year, probably.
What about
or
Baker?
sign one. What about
Yeah,
who?
is
Baker?
Baker not your quarterback?
Is he going to be your
No.
coach?
Is he not your guy?
No.
Oh, hire Baker to be the coach.
There you go.
That's a good idea.
Player coach.
I would be fine if Baker is the quarterback's coach.
What happened to Baker, by the way? Was he ever good? I didn't think he was that bad.
I think he was fine if you put everything around him. You know what I mean? Like, he's a system guy. If you put a great system around him, maybe, and a great defense, maybe. But he's also 5'9", it looks like, when he's out there. And every pass he throws gets batted by the defense. And when he gets the ball, he's like playing tag, and it's against the Monstars. You know what I mean? He looks absolutely terrified when he gets the snap, and he's just running for his life. So I think Johnny Manziel was better, but who knows?
Come on.
I would have taken Johnny football.
Come on. My last football thought was I saw a fan ran onto the field. He was like a child, right? The
10 years old.
It was a 10-year-old
apparently.
child.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what they're saying.
Supposedly.
Let's see the.
I don't know.
We got a Danny Almonte situation.
we need
Oh,
the
wow.
birth
He's
certificates.
actually 16.
The Bucks Falcons game. This coming right after the fan ran on the field and Bobby Wagner decked him in the Niners Rams game. And I've seen a lot of
That
people,
guy's suing Bobby Wagner, by the way.
Yeah.
For the tackle.
Was that a
I mean-
gender reveal? He had the pink. He had the pink. Like, I don't know what that was.
That is a sick gender reveal.
That
Yeah,
would be
I think
cool.
that
You
his-
tell your wife,
I
you
think
like
it
just
was,
watch this
right?
game,
Yeah.
third quarter. She's like, I
He had
don't
the
watch
pink
football.
smoke while he was running.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a gender reveal?
I mean,
Maybe.
I would
I
say
was-
he was probably just trying to draw attention.
And
to
Bobby
himself.
Wagner was just trying to congratulate him.
Yeah, you
He
kinda
ran
give him a
into
hug.
by
Big hug,
accident.
Trying to
Yeah.
give him a hug and slipped up.
Well, I've seen a ton of people seem to be taking the stance of like, screw these people that do this, and I just want to call it the hypocrisy that exists among sports fans, where the picture there was a picture of Bobby Wagner like tackling the guy that I saw being circulated, and then a lot of people were commenting like, don't show his shirt because he was I forget what the cause was, something PETA related or something, I don't know, who cares. But like, don't show the cause, like don't kind of like what people
Don't
say about
reward
like
'em.
school shooters of like don't
Yeah. Don't show
glamorize
their
it so then
name,
there's
yeah.
no repeat offense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I'm gonna call it the hypocrisy in that I think every single person watching loves every single time this happens. Every time a guy runs on the field, it's people eat it up. They love it.
Especially casual fans.
Dude.
Yeah.
So like, what
like
do you
free
mean?
entertainment.
What do you mean you don't want copycat? That's all everybody
Yeah.
wants. If I told you that every single football game the rest of the season, at some point someone will run on the field and there's a chance they get tackled by one of the players, the in-game attendance across the league would skyrocket. Every game is selling out. Everybody's going. You know, like, am I wrong? Like, everybody loves this, and then like when it happens, you're like, get these jackasses off. I can't believe people. What are still 2022
Don't
people
show it.
running on the
Don't
field.
show
Don't
it.
show it.
Yeah.
Cut away. Cut away.
Yeah,
cut away.
That's usually what the directors yell.
Nobody
like,
wants
"Don't
you to
show
cut
it."
away. Everybody wants to watch it.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Especially if it's a long, drawn out race. I mean, in baseball, we've seen some great ones where, like, the umps can't even catch them. You know what I mean? Because they're so, like,
Yeah.
old and don't want to run around.
the
So, I
same
mean,
with-
that's fun, too.
It's the same with like police chases.
Yeah.
That's
That's
out
what
here in LA, dude.
people,
Someone's,
yeah, they're like every day. They're like KTLA,
KTLA.
live shot here from the helicopter.
people love it.
those.
Jim's on the Citizen app figuring
I
out
love
where
those,
they're going.
Absolutely.
That's the #1 rated show in LA is police
Yes.
chases.
Yeah, it's like Cops, but better.
I don't know. I've seen the discussions going on, and I just wanted to, I don't know, call out some hypocrisy because it is. It's egregious, Tate, that people are pretending like they don't want to see it, but every single person wants to see it.
You know what's
you all want to see it.
You all want to see it. You know what was egregious to me? I'm watching that Falcons-Bucks game like you're talking about, and the Falcons are making this almost poetic comeback against Tom Brady that might make them feel less bad about 28-3. Nothing will make up for that, but, you know, they're having this great comeback.
Yeah.
And then Tom Brady, third down, incompletion. Falcons are going to get the ball back down 6, drive down the field, and should win the game. And then 3 minutes after the actual play, the ref throws a flag and says roughing the passer. And I'm like, how? You know what's egregious? Tom Brady being able to decide when a flag is a flag so that he can keep a drive going to win a game. That was insane.
I love the idea of Tom Brady having a wing in his house. Maybe it's like he takes all the part of the closet that.
And I like Tom Brady.
Yeah. He takes the part. He takes the part of the closet that Giselle had her stuff, and he uses it now that it's available. He builds a shrine of he has all the penalty flags throughout his career that he's benefited from, just like on displays. And everybody comes over and he points at him. He's like, that's the tuck rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, you like that one?
That wasn't a penalty.
Yeah, a little worn out. A little worn out here. I mean, seriously though.
This was the roughing the passer that extended a drive.
I've never seen anything like it. Like the play was done. The Falcon, like the punt team is running on the field, and then the refs like Tom's like threatening his life. It was very Coach K, honestly, and then he throws the flag.
The Tom Brady, the whiplash I'm getting of whether that guy's likable the last few years has been something else.
I think he is likable. He's just more likable now than he was, but he's still not likable. You know what I mean?
He was super likable as he won the Super Bowl, I thought.
I thought so too.
And then now I feel like he's kind of, I don't know, like he's washed up. He's getting plastic surgery.
His peak point was when he threw the Lombardi Trophy in the celebration on the boat. That was like
was awesome.
that was like.
Then he retires and immediately unretires, and everyone's like, "What the fuck? Like, what's going on with that?"
Midlife crisis.
Yeah. He hates his wife, and then
it turns out, I mean, Giselle might be like have some voodoo witch powers, to help him play longer. So people were saying to watch out for that.
Shout out to closeouts. Do you have anything, Jim?
No.
Okay. Do you have anything?
Wow. I mean, I was gonna shout out my Carolina Panthers. That was gonna be my big shout out. Yeah.
I want to shout out the city of San Diego. I went to a wedding
nice.
this weekend. I think San Diego. Is it fair to say it's the most unimpeachable city in America? Is that like the one place that everybody shits on every city, but if you said I live in San Diego, everyone's just kind of like, "Damn, dude, that's respect." Like it's
a really nice place to live.
Nice place to live.
Where in San Diego?
Yeah. I feel like it is, right? Like, is that the one city that nobody says anything bad about?
Well, and then all my family that has come
other
out,
than that it's expensive.
Well, then all my family that came out to L.A. to visit me, they all thought that L.A. was San Diego based on like the propaganda, right? So they were like, they came out here and then we went to San Diego and they're like, this is what we're talking about. Look how nice the weather is.
When my brother was planning his latest trip out here, I asked him what he wanted to do, and he said, "Let's just go to San Diego." I was like, you know, San Diego's not L.A., right? You know, like that drive is a bitch, right? And he's like, "I don't know, man. It seems cool. It seems cool."
Let's go to San Diego.
Anyway,
nice
I was there all weekend for a wedding, and the point of the story, Tate, is a lot of Aztecs chatter going on. A lot of I talked to a lot of people that are big SDSU fans. One guy at the wedding cornered me and wanted me to admit that this is going to be the best San Diego State team of all time, is what he said, coming into this season. I wasn't sure how drunk he was, but it felt like pretty drunk if you're saying that. I was like, didn't you guys go like, what did they start, 26-0, 25-0 a couple years ago?
I think it was 26. I need a fact check, but I'm pretty sure.
And then that was
26.
the COVID year that the tournament didn't happen. They lost a couple, I think, toward down the stretch.
As they were winding down, yeah.
And then the Kawhi year, I think they were like, were they top 5 at any point? Because they lost like 2 games in 2011. Weren't they like 35-2 or something?
Yeah,
I remember.
that is the year that when you told me this story, I was like, that seems wild that he thinks they're gonna be better than that.
Yeah, I was like, you guys are gonna be better than this. He's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know. This is the point. This is why I want to shout out San Diego State fans, because they're like super passionate to a point. They're like super like, dude, I don't know, man. The Aztecs, how they look, we're pretty good, right? And then like I'm ready to engage in the conversation. This happened like 5 or 6 times where I was like ready to have the conversation, and then like once I kind of gave a little resistance or like I wanted to talk it out more, they're like, I gotta be honest with you, man. Like I don't really know that much or care that much. And I was like, that's respect. That's.
But I like how they come out hot. You know,
they come in hot.
Yeah,
and then
they're like, we're gonna make history this year, and you're like, really? Why?
They're like an underdog in a big football game that scripts their first series.
Yeah.
And they receive the kickoff and they march it down the field and score a touchdown, and they're up 7-0, and then the game settles in, and now they have
no. They flip the page and it's just blank.
Yeah, there's
they're
no
like
other
looking. They're like looking back.
That was me talking San Diego State basketball all weekend. They had the script. They had the initial plays. When we dove a little deeper, they were like, I don't give a shit, man.
Yeah, they're like, that Bradley guy's good. Like, yeah, he's pretty good.
Oh man, I believe in Coach Fisher though. He's gonna get the ball. I was like, you know, Fisher's not the coach, right? And they're like, yeah, man, I knew that. Yeah,
like, for sure.
Anyway, you try that taco truck down the street, dude. It's so good. So shout out to San Diego. I had a great time.
We went to a game in 2020 before the world shut down. That was one of our last events.
I tried to find common ground with them and pointing out that Ohio State is going to play San Diego State in the first game of the Maui Invitational. And Zero people knew that. Every single Aztec fan I told, I was like, man, and plus Maui, it's gonna be fun. Your Aztecs, my Buckeyes, that's gonna be a good game. And they're like, what is it? I was like, saying, you know the Maui Invitational? And they're like, we're in that. And I was like, yeah, and you're playing Ohio State. And they're like, oh, cool, word. When is that?
You're like, what game are you going to? They're like, I'm going to the BYU game in February.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to shout out is this new Mario movie. I don't know if Jim had thoughts on it. Mario, as Jim calls it.
Mhm.
Did you see the trailer that Chris Pratt's doing the voice for Mario? And
I did.
He didn't do the stereotypical like, it's a me.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't do the
he's just
Italian.
like, what's up, guys? It's Chris Pratt.
Yeah,
That's Mario.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
as a guy who, because he's supposed to have a New York accent, right? Like, isn't that the Mario? Isn't that what they said? It's not like Italian. It's
Well, Italian American.
thought it was, like,
He lives in Brooklyn. though.
Brooklyn,
Yeah, he's
yeah.
from. Yeah, he lives in Brooklyn, but he's from Italy.
my
He has
God.
that Italian accent.
so. Are you offended by Chris Pratt? I guess. is
No,
the
but I
question
think they could have gotten somebody better.
Yeah.
They should have just got the guy from the video game.
I thought so too. Yeah, but then I thought about it
Yeah.
like 2 hours of a movie of Mario being making a funny voice would have been.
I
annoying
think
as shit.
Joe Pesci should have been Mario.
Joe Pesci would have been good.
You know, like that would have
Rick
been
Pitino?
unimpeachable.
Rick Pitino.
Rick Pitino. I mean, yeah. I was the worst part about it was that it was like there's not an Italian guy.
Mike Tirico.
Mike Tirico.
Yeah.
Would have been great. Would have been great. Like unimpeachable. I think as soon as you put it, I
Jimmy
guess.
Patsos.
I guess Chris
Guess he
Pratt's
probably should.
Irish, right? As soon as you put an Irish guy playing an Italian guy, I think you're already behind the 8 ball. And like forcing Chris Pratt to do some of the Mario, like some of that stuff's insane. That's too much. Can't do it.
Is Patsos more Greek, probably, right?
He's probably
Yeah,
Greek.
it's
Yeah,
That's not Italian.
that's close. On the
Anyway,
map.
that cracked me up though. That was like a controversy on the internet for a couple days.
And the movie's not coming out right till like 2024 or something. It was like
It's that long.
I think it's like a Wolverine kind of drop, you know, where they like drop it
They
on
just
you,
tease it
and then they're
forever.
like, "We'll see you in the summer."
And then
of
by the time the movie
2024."
comes out, it feels like you've already seen it because you've seen so many trailers and-
previews.
yeah.
Yeah.
April 7th, 2023.
Oh, there you go. That's good.
Oh, really? So it's
Not
actually,
that far.
It's not that far. So you're completely wrong.
No, it's good.
Absolutely.
I'm excited about that. The only
Couldn't be
time that
more
it
wrong.
works for me
Is that Final Four weekend?
probably
April what?
7th.
Oh no, the weekend after.
It's the weekend after.
So maybe we do the Duffies and then go see Mario.
Yeah, we go see Mario. We do the Duffies. The entire Duffies are in a Mario
yes,
voice.
yes.
Oh, I can't even do it. I'm not
Yeah.
even
We're at AMC and we're watching Mario. Welcome to the Duffy Awards.
That's it. That's all I got. Everybody done. We're thank you to Andy Katz for joining us. Thank you guys for
That was
listening.
good.
We'll see you Thursday.
Thanks.